Calling to order this hearing, a roundtable. This is a public roundtable of the Committee of the Whole of the District of Columbia. I'm Phil Mendelson, Chair of the Council and Chair of the Committee of the Whole. Today is Monday, June 17, 2024. The time is 11:10 in the morning. And this roundtable is being held in the council chambers that is room 500 of the Johnny Wilson building. This roundtable will be followed by three more being held by the Committee of the Whole today. This one is on PR 25-790, entitled the District of Columbia State Athletics Commission Barbara Barnes Confirmation Resolution 2024. This legislation was introduced at the request of the mayor on Tuesday, May 7th, 2024. The stated purpose of this resolution is to confirm the mayor's nomination to appoint Barbara Barnes to the commission, to the District of Columbia State Athletics Commission. The commission is an independent agency that oversees the District of Columbia State Athletics Association. The association is an association of District of Columbia public charter, and independent schools, both private and parochial. The State Athletics Commission participants share knowledge and best practices to enhance student-athlete achievement through athletic programming and to provide quality life learning experiences. The purpose of today's roundtable is to afford an opportunity to the public to testify, as well as to receive testimony from the nominee and from the public witnesses as to the fitness of the nominee for service on the commission. The record in this matter will be open for 2 weeks. That is, it will close at 5 p.m. on Monday, July 1st, 2024. We have one witness, and that's the nominee, Barbara Barnes. If you'd come forward. I make a point of trying to have a hearing on all nominees. It's a good opportunity to hear from the nominee. It provides an opportunity to the public if they want to testify, and a little bit of oversight for the agency. So when you're ready, please proceed. Turn the microphone on. Sean, thank you.
There we go.
Yeah.
Good morning, Chairman Mendelson and members of the committee. I am Barbara Barnes, and it is my pleasure to receive your consideration for my nomination to serve on the DC State Athletic Commission. I am grateful to Mayor Muriel E. Bowser for nominating me and honored to have this opportunity to serve the residents of our district. I know there's important work to be done and appreciate the committee taking the time to support athletics within the district. I am an 18-year DC resident, including 14 years in Ward 4, where I currently reside, and the mother of two very active children, ages 8 and 11, who attend Bruce Monroe at Parkview Elementary School in Petworth. My husband and I are committed to raising our children in the district, and we are proud of who our children have become, thanks to the guidance of teachers, coaches, neighbors, and friends within our community. Professionally, I have worked in intercollegiate athletics for the past 23 years, starting out during my college days at Marquette University. I've been employed at a number of universities, including a 2-year stint at the Catholic University of America, before finding a home at Georgetown University, where I have served since 2008. I have moved up the ranks within the department and am currently the Associate Director of Athletics for Communications, overseeing a team that performs external functions for all 30 varsity sports, and I'm also the administrator for the sailing team. There is one constant that I've seen in my time in collegiate athletics, and that is transformation. Sports transform lives in so many ways. They build character, they instill confidence, and they promote teamwork. Growing up in rural Wisconsin, I was an athlete with 3 brothers, spending my summer days at the ballpark and my winters in the gym. I knew from a young age that sports were my life's work, but I had never had dreams of making it big on the court. Instead, I valued the friendships that were built. I loved being a leader among my peers, and there was no more satisfying feeling than seeing one's hard work come to fruition. As both a parent and athletics professional, I was excited to hear about the DC State Athletic Commission. Both of my children participate in competitive sports, including soccer, gymnastics, basketball, baseball, cross country, and track and field. I am acutely aware of what is required to host an event, coach a team, or run a league. The work that goes on behind the scenes is imperative to produce a positive and professional experience for student athletes and their families. In my time in athletics, I have had the chance to create policy for a new league in Division III's landmark conference, as well as currently sitting on several academic committees, including the Big East Academic Affairs Committee and the NCAA Region III Postgraduate Scholarship Committee. I spend my days developing athletics policy at both the university and league level, while also performing my function as a communicator. I believe I am uniquely positioned to serve on this committee because I have a strong working knowledge of athletics policy from the organizational level and also understand what it is like to be the parent of a student athlete. The duality of these roles allows me to see the bigger picture when it comes to policymaking and organizational structures as I understand the unique needs of sports, schools, and families. One issue that I hope to work on while serving on the commission is regarding the issue of name, image, and likeness, or NIL. NIL allows college and high school athletes to profit from their name, image, or likeness for commercial purposes. This is a complex issue without a simple answer. The committee has enacted an NIL policy for DC, but this is an ever-changing space, and the policy may need to be updated in the future. I hope to bring my experiences dealing with this issue to the table to help ensure that DC creates flexible policies that benefit all of the district's student athletes. The district boasts some of the best student athletes in the nation, but the needs of all student athletes at both public and private institutions need to be considered, as well as the abilities of each institution. I know how to handle this dichotomy, and I am confident I can bring both perspectives to the conversation. Athletics is a business, and I am comfortable running it as such. However, that does not remove the human element, and our leadership must be able to see both sides. When my children were born, I believed they would not grow up with the small town pride I had for our sports teams. As my children have gotten involved in athletics, I have learned I was wrong. The district has a thriving athletics community that is bigger than small town pride. There are dedicated individuals working to bring that pride and excitement to our area through athletics opportunities. I believe the mission of the DC State Athletic Commission promotes civic pride and allows these schools and student athletes to develop rivalries and friendships that sustain the community. The work of the committee is imperative to keep a level playing field so we can ensure that these state championships foster intense and exciting competition. I look forward to sustaining that success while also ensuring that student athletes in the district have the transformative opportunities that we have celebrated for the past 12 years. My personal experience as both a professional and a parent is a motivating factor in this appointment, and these factors will drive me throughout. Thank you, Chairman, for the opportunity to testify before this committee. I'd be happy to answer any questions from you and the members of the committee.
Thank you, Ms. Barnes. How did you hear about this commission?
I actually heard about it from Kenny Owens, who oversees the commission. He was my son's soccer coach and also actually played soccer at Georgetown, although I wasn't there then. So I've known him in a number of circles. And when this opportunity became available, where he was looking specifically for a parent, he approached me and asked if I would be interested. And I had never heard of it and was very excited.
Have you been to any meetings?
I have not, no.
Okay, so you don't know how much time would be involved?
He went through the time commitment. He said they have their quarterly meetings typically via Zoom. I did attend the some of the basketball games because I actually happened to be at Georgetown this year. So I went to some of the state championship games there. But I have not been at a meeting, but he did kind of lay it out for me.
So you have the time to serve?
I do feel confident, yes.
Do you know of any possible conflicts of interest that might arise?
I actually asked our compliance people at Georgetown that exact question because we do often recruit student athletes from the district, and they felt confident that we would not have an issue with that. If there ever were some sort of recruiting violation in some ways where I felt like a recruited student athlete from Georgetown, their eligibility was affected or something like that, and I was deciding that is something that I would probably recuse myself from.
I think usually the practice is one where you would speak to, I don't know if there's a general counsel, maybe it's to the executive director, identify to the commission, and then recuse yourself.
Okay.
I know I sent you pre-hearing questions and we got your answers, and one of them was, are you current in your taxes to the district and the federal government?
Yep.
Um, you spoke to this a little bit, but what more do you think we could be doing to promote equity of access to youth sports across the district?
Well, I think that equity, especially in all of the wards, is very important. With my children playing both sports at school and also doing travel sports, there's obviously a huge gap between the opportunities that different students in the district have. So I think it's really important that we just continue to make sure opportunities are happening in all of our wards, as opposed to just the ones where we have active teachers and we have parents that are willing to get involved. So I really believe just encouraging students and trying to make sure that we have coaches in place and different administrators in place to get those opportunities available for all 8 wards.
Give me just a second. It's being noted to me that with the name, image, likeness, that could be adding pressure on students.
For having it within the district.
Yeah, or that, what do they do and what do they do if somebody wants to buy, so to speak, their name, image, or likeness, or what do they do if they're one of the left out that doesn't?
Mhm.
Nobody could care. Do you have any sense of whether that has created pressure on students?
It absolutely has. I've seen it at the intercollegiate level, and now it's coming down to the interscholastic level. And I do think that there are top student athletes that are feeling pressure for both to have name, image, and likeness opportunities when it comes to a deal with a local business, but also during the recruiting process. It's very clear that coaches and collectives at the college level are utilizing name, image, and likeness to entice student athletes to come to their universities. So that is definitely, there is absolutely pressure from name, image, and likeness. It's not going away. So I actually believe it's up to the commission, the institutions, the universities to really educate. And that's the best we can do, is to make sure the student athletes and their families and their parents and their coaches and all the people in their lives really understand what name, image, and likeness is, what opportunities are out there, and how to manage it. Things like that you still have to pay taxes, and keeping that money aside, and making sure that we're helping the student athletes, because I think there are more and more people out there who are trying to get a piece of the pie. I know that the commission has already done workshops with Open Door. I know they have a relationship with Open Doors, and they've also had NCAA compliance people come in and do workshops with coaches and student athletes to talk about NIL and what's permissible, what's not. But I think education is absolutely the key in making sure that our student athletes can be successful with name, image, and likeness and take advantage of it, but also trying to look out for their safety.
We just adopted 2 years ago a law, I think it's a uniform law, suggested by the Uniform Law Commission. You may or may not be familiar with them, but they draft legislation. It's somewhat like, but it's not the same as model legislation. And they have a uniform law for name, image, likeness, and we just adopted that in the district. Are you familiar with that?
I am not.
Which is all right, but anyway, we did adopt something. I don't have any other questions for you. Anything further you want to say?
No, I'm just very excited about this opportunity.
Good. Well, as I said, the record in this matter will be open for 2 weeks. That doesn't mean you have to submit anything else unless you want to. And that means that I'm hopeful we will take this up at our July 9th. Is that the date? July 9th legislative meeting.
Okay,
Thank you for your willingness to serve.
Absolutely. Thank you.
That's going to conclude this hearing. A roundtable. I'm going to pause for a few minutes and then start the next one. The time is 11:26 in the morning and this roundtable is adjourned. I'm calling to order this hearing a roundtable, public roundtable of the Committee of the Whole of the District Council of the District of Columbia. I'm Phil Mendelson, Chair of the Council and Chair of the Committee of the Whole. Today is Monday, June 17, 2024. The time is 11:30 in the morning. The subject of this roundtable is supposed to be PR 25-819, Board of Trustees of the University of the District of Columbia, Mignon L. Clyburn, Confirmation Resolution 2024. We received word late last week that this nomination has been withdrawn, I believe at the request of the nominee. As a result, there is actually technically nothing before us. So, having called this roundtable to order, I am now going to adjourn this roundtable. The time is 11:31 in the morning and this roundtable is adjourned. I'm calling to order this hearing. This is a hearing or roundtable, public roundtable of the Committee of the Whole of the Council of the District of Columbia. I'm Phil Mendelson, Chair of the Council and Chair of the Committee of the Whole. Today is Monday, June 17th, 2024. The time is 12:03 p.m. And this roundtable is being held in the Council Chambers, Room 500 of the John A. Wilson Building. The subject of this roundtable is consideration of PR 25-817 entitled Metropolitan Washington Airports Authority Judith N. Batty Confirmation Resolution of 2024. The purpose of this resolution is to confirm the mayor's nomination to reappoint Judith Batty to the Metropolitan Washington Airports Authority Board of Directors for a 6-year term to expire October 2nd, 2030. Metropolitan Washington Airports Authority is an independent body created through an interstate compact between the Commonwealth of Virginia, the state of Maryland, and the District of Columbia that promotes, develops, and operates Washington Dulles International Airport and the Ronald Reagan Washington National Airport. The Airports Authority Board of Directors governs the activities of the authority. Its members are appointed by the governors of Maryland and Virginia and the mayor of the district and the president of the United States. The purpose of this roundtable is to invite or give an opportunity for public witnesses to testify as to the fitness of the nominee, as well as to receive testimony from the nominee regarding her reappointment to the board. The record in this matter will be open for 2 weeks. That is, it will close at 5 p.m. on July 1st, 2024. Our thinking is to try to mark this up on July 9th. And if I remember correctly, the 6-year term would expire on October 4th of 2024, which is why we want to act before the recess. So we published notice of the roundtable, afforded the public an opportunity to come in and testify. We have one witness, and that is the nominee, Ms. Batty. If you want to say, take the stage, have a seat.
Thank you.
When you're ready, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and members of the Committee of the Whole. Thank you for holding today's roundtable and allowing me to testify before you. My name is Judith Batty. I greatly appreciate the opportunity to discuss my interest in being reappointed to the board of the Metropolitan Washington Airports Authority, and I would like to thank the mayor for her expression of confidence in me by selecting me for a second term on the NWA board. If confirmed, I will continue to dedicate the time, energy, and attention needed to represent the District of Columbia as a member. By way of background, I'll begin by updating you on my activities since my appointment in 2018, my appointment hearing in 2018, but I'll give you a little background first. I was born and raised in New York. I received my BA from New York University College of Arts and Sciences and my JD from New York University School of Law. I began my career here in the district in 1981 through the honors program at the U.S. Department of Justice. I worked in the antitrust division and then moved to a small law firm in Georgetown, where my practice included antitrust litigation and antitrust counseling. In 1987, I began my 28-year career at Mobil Corporation and then ExxonMobil Corporation. I held a number of different positions at Mobil and then ExxonMobil, including Assistant Chief Attorney in ExxonMobil's refining and supply company. And I was the first female and first African-American general counsel of ExxonMobil's 3,000 employee publicly traded Japanese affiliate. I retired from ExxonMobil in 2015. As I stated in my confirmation hearing in 2018, I was then serving as a member of the executive committee of the National Board of Directors of Girl Scouts of the USA, and I was its international commissioner. What you may not know is that in the summer of 2020, I was appointed interim chief executive officer of Girl Scouts of the USA, the first African-American CEO to lead the organization. As CEO, I restructured and streamlined the headquarters workforce, addressed declining membership, increased program relevance, and advanced diversity, equity, and inclusion across the organization. And I upgraded technology infrastructure and cybersecurity measures, putting the organization on a path to recovery after COVID-19. I served as interim CEO until February of 2022. Currently, I am an active member of the Governing Board of Trustees of Arena Stage in Southwest, most recently serving as the chair of the Finance Committee. I'm also an active member of the Board of Directors of Spoleto Festival USA in Charleston, South Carolina, serving as its board secretary. Mr. Chairman, as you're aware, MWA's mission is to develop, promote, and operate safely Reagan and Dulles, continually striving to improve efficiency, customer orientation, and satisfaction, and the level of air service offered. We strive to be the best managed airports in the United States. I would like to continue to be part of that mission while giving voice to the issues and concerns of the businesses and residents of the District of Columbia. I am fully on board with the mayor's revitalization plans for DC and understand that boosting tourism is an important part of reviving downtown and meeting the challenges of changed habits post-pandemic. The more people have a great experience coming into DC through our airports, the better for a stronger revival of DC. Since joining the board, I've co-chaired the Executive and Governance Committee and the Finance Committee, while also serving as a member of the Risk Committee and the Strategic Planning Committee. While co-chair of the Executive and Governance Committee, we updated our bylaws to improve the effectiveness and efficiency of the board and upgraded and updated our succession planning process for senior executives at MWA, which is now an annual exercise. In addition to assisting the board in overseeing the financial resources of the authority, as co-chair of the Finance Committee, I have participated with staff in the annual Airport Systems Revenue and Refunding Bond process. These refundings lower the financing costs for the authority, with the most recent transaction, which was just this month, resulting in savings of $39.5 million, which exceeded the Airports Authority's goals. In this process, I meet with rating agencies and lenders to maintain MWA's reputation with the investors and to generate demand for the bonds. I have also been a vocal proponent of ensuring that DC residents and businesses, especially small businesses, have continued and increased access to the opportunities, contracts, and concessions at the airport, at both airports. Such access is a vital part of ensuring the long-term viability and success of DC businesses. As you know, MWA is about to embark on new terminal construction at both Dulles and Reagan, and I want to ensure that DC businesses have access to the subcontracts available as a result of the construction, and that DC residents have access to the jobs that the construction will provide. To that end, and I and the rest of the then DC delegation, and also the Vice President of Diversity, Inclusion, and Social Impact for MWA, met with the Director of the Department of Employment Services for DC to explore ways to work together to increase the visibility of available jobs for DC residents. I have also been a supporter of the UDC Airport Maintenance Program, a venture between UDC and MWA to train students in aircraft maintenance. I am happy to report that that program seems to be coming back to life. It had a little bit of a lull. Finally, I introduced MWA to the Lynx Incorporated. The Lynx, among other things, hosts a student poster competition. And I am very happy to report that for the last 3 or 4 years, the entries from students in Washington, D.C. public schools have been exhibited on the walls of National Airport for all to enjoy. If reappointed, I commit to doing, serving, and leading in the best interest of the District of Columbia. While the Board of Directors provides strategic leadership and overall direction, Working with my fellow district appointees and the board as a whole, it would be my vision to make certain that district residents, businesses, and job seekers have opportunities at both Reagan and Dulles. Mr. Chairman, thank you again for receiving my testimony, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Ms. Batty. Thank you for your statement. So you've served on the board since 2018.
Correct.
So you have a sense of how much time is required. Do you have the time? Are you able to meet the requirements for the next 6 years?
I do.
And have you had any conflicts of interest come up while you've been on there?
I have not.
If there were to be a conflict of interest, what would you do?
I would report it and either not vote on whatever the conflict was, but I would take care of the conflict.
And do you have any outstanding liability for taxes, fees, or other payments to the district or federal government?
I do.
You do.
I do.
Do you have a payment plan?
I do with the federal government. I am working with the District of Columbia on a $2,000 difference, but if it's not cleared up, it should be paid this week.
Okay. I asked that question of all nominees because years ago, the council got bit by not knowing, and there was something that was quite egregious, so. And I appreciate that you're working on it. This has nothing to do with MWA, but in your testimony, you said declining membership in the Girl Scouts.
Yes.
So just tell me more. I'm curious.
So, Girl Scouts, I guess for the last almost 20 years now, we've had slow declining membership. Girls have opportunities to do other things now after school, on weekends. There are other organizations they can join. Sports is a big driver. So we tend to have a lot of girls at the younger ages, but as they get older, membership starts declining. They have other opportunities to do other things. In addition, because of our troop model, most troop leaders in the past have been mothers, and with more women in the workforce, there are less volunteers to be troop leaders. So part of addressing the decline is finding other ways to deliver Girl Scouting, whether it's online, whether it's instead of having one troop leader, you might have an organization that takes on a troop, and so the women split up the time with the girls so that one person isn't responsible. We have some multi-level troops that also helps with membership. You might have a dedicated leader, but if she only has juniors, for instance, those are the only girls she can serve. If she has a multi-level troop, then we can service more girls. So it's looking at all of that, as well as where we offer it. There were some innovative programs of offering Girl Scouting in the morning at school before classes start. For kids who came in for breakfast, they could also do their Girl Scouting. There are some innovative programming doing it during lunch because, it doesn't interfere with their class schedule or their after school activity. So it's looking at all of that. In addition to the fact that Boy Scouts now accepts girls, and just trying to make sure we stay competitive with our programming.
And were you able to turn the membership around?
Well, I had I don't know if it was luck or just good fortune, but I was CEO during the first year after COVID when we went back to in-person meetings. And yeah, we did. I don't know that that's held up, but that first year, 2021, we did increase membership, and 2022 was on track to increase membership when I left.
And that has nothing to do with the airport, but I was. You also mentioned in your statement that the aircraft maintenance program with UDC seems to be coming back to life. Could you say more about that?
Yeah, so we rent a hangar to UDC and they teach aircraft maintenance. The hangar had some issues, maintenance type issues. So the program was suspended for a bit. And I'm not sure about this, but I think they also might have had an issue with a professor trying to find the right person to teach it. And also working with the airlines so that the airlines would help and also support the program. And all of that seems to be working. We have a deal with UDC to upgrade the facility. That's working. They have a professor. We have process in place. It's 10 students per class. I'm not quite sure how many classes they're going to have, but it's 10 students per class. And we're working with the airlines to support the program.
That sounds good. The FAA reauthorization bill recently adopted 5 additional slots for
Yes.
National Airport. Even though most local leaders oppose such a move. Last month, there was a near miss between 2 aircraft. Have the slot allocations been finalized for the airlines?
They have not. They're all vying for what they want.
Do you have to offer the additional slots just because Congress said you could?
So that is actually done through the FAA as opposed to through the action, us. So it's the FAA that allocates the slots. And we'll see if they actually do.
It is concerning because my note here says the National is already the busiest runway in the nation. Is that correct?
It is correct. And it is concerning.
And it is, if I may say so, selfish on the part of Congress. What, if anything, is the authority able to do to prepare for the extra slots?
Well, we can help with scheduling, the extra slots at a time when the airport isn't quite as busy. And, just making sure we have enough air traffic controllers and getting all the systems in place. But the slots are really FAA territory. We can just make sure the airport has all the safety safety measures in place to accommodate those slots.
Is the authority speculating that there could be increased delays, service delays?
With 5 slots, we hope not, but of course, it depends on the timing of those slots. Hopefully, those slots will be at times when the airport is not that busy.
In the past, when we've had hearings, I don't think it's been on nominations. I think it's been the oversight hearing. There's been some testimony concerning unionizing efforts. Can you speak to where that is?
Sure. So we did pass a minimum wage. I don't know what you call it. We have a minimum wage
Rule?
yeah. That everyone at the airport has to follow now. It's not just contractors, it applies to some subcontractors as well. So everyone who's on the airport, working at the airport, will be earning minimum wage, which I think right now is $16. It might be a little bit more. It's inflation protected, so it goes up.
Is it the DC level?
I'm not sure if it's the DC level or a little higher. It's not lower.
Okay.
And we are looking at now leave policies. There are some employees of some contractors who don't have any type of leave, and we're looking at whether we're going to pass a leave rule. And we're looking at that right now.
Are there organizing efforts by one or more unions?
It's the SIU. I'm not sure of the other ones.
Okay. And I assume that the authority is staying out of that?
Yeah, we try to stay out of it as best we can. However, while we don't at all get involved with any type of union negotiation with the concessionaires and with our contractors on the site. But the minimum wage rule was the impetus was from the unions, and we did pass a rule.
Yeah. You spoke to this in your testimony, but I wanted you to elaborate a bit what the authority is doing or what you're doing with the authority to get more jobs for DC residents.
Right. So we track that very closely. You know, Dulles is kind of far out, but now with the Silver Line, there's no reason for residents not to be able to get to Dulles for a job. And you know, National's right here. But for some reason, our employment numbers for DC residents are lower than West Virginia residents, which makes no sense. And so we've been, you know, working with DC, working with the authority to make sure that the jobs are known in the district, we do job fairs, we've gone into schools, we have schools come out to visit us. And we will continue all those efforts, but there are good jobs out at Dulles and good jobs out at National. Trades, the, you know, fire department, the police department, all of those. And there's no reason why DC residents should not have their fair share of those jobs at all.
And you're not sensing any resistance by the authority.
No, there's no resistance by authority. I think it's a combination of just getting to the right folks in DC and making sure that people know about those jobs. And for one, you know, DC, especially with the construction, DC for a while had a lot of construction. So people didn't have to go to Virginia for a construction job. But, you know, as things change, we are doing construction and those are actually very good jobs as well. So making sure that DC residents are part of that mix.
We're whispering because there's no bus service, WMATA bus service to National.
Oh, I didn't know that. The train goes there though. There's Metro service, but I didn't know if I don't know about bus service.
Yeah, but you have jobs there that start before the Metro Rail opens, don't you?
Opens. Okay, well, we'll have to look at that. I didn't know about bus service.
Interesting. Well, we also, I don't think we have bus routes that cross state lines.
Oh, okay.
Still, it might be worth exploring. And could you say more about attracting DC businesses?
Oh, yeah, we do a number of training programs. We have fairs for small businesses, explaining sort of the program, how they get qualified and how they can get a concession. We have a whole sort of university for new business owners to go through to get a concession and what's involved. And from my standpoint, attracting the businesses is not as critical an issue for me as maintaining the businesses. The issue I would like to work on, and which we have talked about, the DC delegation has talked about, is a lot of the concessions qualify because they're small businesses, but they get to a certain size, they're no longer a small business and they're not really big. And so they're kind of left in limbo because they can't compete for or get a renewed concession as a small business, but they really can't compete against the big guys. And so they get sort of, their success causes their failure. And we need to figure out how to deal with that so that there's not that cliff.
Well, if a DC small business gets a concession, they don't lose it if they get too big.
They don't lose it if they get too big until their contract is up and they need to requalify.
And then they're not big enough to be able to compete.
Right. So we need a way to deal with that. They should not be, success should not be the bar to entry.
How well do the members of the board get along?
We get along very well. It's actually a very congenial board, we work well together. One of the other reasons why I was willing to be reappointed, why I wanted to be reappointed for another term, is it's either 4 or 5 of the Virginia members are going to roll off this fall. So the board is going to be very different come January.
These would be Governor Youngkin appointees.
Exactly.
Whereas the ones who are rolling off were Governor McAuliffe.
Except
appointed.
for two. Yeah. Yeah, sorry, all the ones that are rolling off were McAuliffe appointees, yes. Yes,
Well, I don't want to say anything, but yes, that could be very different
exactly.
because they have a slight majority. Don't they have like,
They have 7
they have 7 and the district has 4 and Maryland has 3.
and the federal government has 3. And we did actually have a federal appointee for maybe 18 months this year. He was only 18 months because he was fulfilling the term of someone else. But his reconfirmation hearing was never had. President Biden has also nominated a second person and he has never had a hearing. So, on the 6 years, during the 6 years that I've been on the board, we've had one federal appointee and that was only for 18 months. Now, if the if the Congress gets its act together and they have their hearings, then we'll have 3 federal appointees as well.
This is a completely inappropriate remark, but at least you're not alone. We can't get judges through the Senate.
That's true. That's true.
And there are 3 federal appointees that have to be confirmed.
Yes.
I did not have any other questions for you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your service and
Thank
thank you for your willingness to continue serving.
Yeah.
If there's anything further you want to submit, you're welcome to. You don't have to. I think we have everything we need. I will say though, again, for the record, that the record will close at 5 PM on Monday, July 1st, 2024. So that's going to conclude this roundtable. Thank you very much.
Thank
Time
you.
is 12:30 and this roundtable is adjourned. I'm calling to order this hearing or roundtable of the Committee of the Whole of the Council of the District of Columbia. I'm Phil Mendelson, Chair of the Council and Chair of the Committee of the Whole. Today is Monday, June 17, 2024. The time is 12:33 in the afternoon. And this roundtable is being held in room 500, the council chambers of the Johnny Wilson Building. The subject of this roundtable is PR 25-839 entitled Public Charter School Board Dwight Davis Confirmation Resolution of 2024. This legislation was introduced at the request of the mayor on June 3rd. The stated purpose of PR 25-839 is to confirm the mayor's nomination to appoint Dwight Davis to the Public Charter School Board, and that would be for a term that it would end February 24th, 2027. The Public Charter School Board is an independent government agency of the District of Columbia led by a volunteer 7-member board. As the sole public charter school authorizer in our nation's capital, the Public Charter School Board provides oversight to public charter schools, which are managed by independently run nonprofit organizations called local education agencies. The purpose of this roundtable is to afford the public an opportunity to testify as to the fitness of the nominee, as well as for the committee to receive testimony from the nominee. The record in this matter will be open for 2 weeks. That is, it will close at 5 p.m. on Monday, July 1st, 2024. And I think it is our intent to try to move this legislation, assuming that there isn't a lot of opposition, at our July 9th legislative meeting. We have 2 witnesses. I'm going to ask Leah Cruzy to come first. She's currently the chair of the Public Charter School Board, and then I'll call the nominee. I haven't seen you since the last confirmation hearing.
I would welcome the opportunity. Thank you
There's
for having
still
me.
one more vacant seat, I think, or one more seat that will become vacant.
That's right. right.
Yes,
So I look forward to seeing you again.
yes.
Good afternoon, Chairman Mendelson and members of the Committee of the Whole. Thank you for the opportunity to testify in the nomination of Dwight Davis to join the DC Public Charter School Board. I am Leah Cruzy, Chair of the DC Public Charter School Board. I would like to start by thanking Mayor Bowser for nominating Mr. Davis and expressing my support for him to join our board. He will bring a wealth of experience and important perspectives to the board at a time when we will make high-stakes decisions about our schools and roll out our new academic accountability system called Aspire. Mr. Davis is a native Washingtonian who has shown a deep commitment to helping students achieve great success throughout his career. His experience in DC public schools, both as a teacher and a principal, will be particularly valuable given his firsthand experience in both crafting and implementing policies that impact schools and the students they serve. In short, he understands what is necessary to create both an excellent and equitable school community, and he also knows the challenges which can make it difficult. His time as a principal and Ward 5 resident have helped him build relationships with families and understand the educational options they desire. He also knows barriers to equity that DC's most underserved families face, and as a father of 4, one of whom is here today, he can speak to how parents make choices for their families. Lastly, his experience as a college admissions counselor will bring a unique perspective to our board, especially for discussions involving high school academics. This will be important as we begin implementing our Aspire system. Thank you very much, Chairman Mendelson, and the rest of the council for considering Dwight Davis's nomination. I'm happy to address any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate your testimony and I have no questions. So,
Thank you.
thank you. Mr. Davis, do you want to come forward? Give me just a second. When you're ready.
Is it on?
Yes.
Okay, you can, okay. Start again. Good afternoon, Chairman Mendelson, and members of the Council of the District of Columbia. It is an honor to appear before you in support of my nomination to serve as member of the District of Columbia's Public Charter School Board. I humbly thank the Honorable Muriel Bowser for the nomination and support. I would also like to thank Leah for her testimony of support today. My name is Dwight Malik Davis. I am a native Washingtonian and a proud product of the District of Columbia Public Schools, where I attended Whittier Elementary School, Paul Junior High School, and Calvin Coolidge Senior High. After graduating from high school, I attended Albright College in Reading, Pennsylvania, where I received a Bachelor of Arts in Psychology, History, and Education. After completing my studies, I had the privilege of pursuing my dream of playing professional basketball in South America and in Europe. When I wasn't playing basketball, I was attending Princeton Theological Seminary, where I received the Masters of Divinity and Masters of Arts in Christian Education. Although I loved basketball, my true passion was to return home to DC to give back and serve the community that has given so much to me. For the next 2 decades, I would serve as a highly effective teacher, English language arts coach, highly effective assistant principal, and highly effective principal within the District of Columbia Public Schools. With each role, I gained greater insight and understanding of myself, the children we serve, their families, and the rich heritage of our DC community. Currently, I serve in the role as principal partner at City Bridge Foundation. All children deserve a high-quality education, no matter their geographical location within our beloved city. Growing up in DC, my experiences within education were vastly different from those of my 4 sons. My unique needs, gifts, and desires were not considered when selecting a school. School choice was a decision predicated on my family's zip code. Today, this is no longer the case. DC has, in my opinion, one of the most innovative school systems in our nation, one where parents can choose a school that matches their child's unique gifts and needs. This is a tremendous asset. More importantly, I believe we should work to ensure that our school systems, public and public charter, thrive together. As a father of 4 boys, one being here, Donovan, who have matriculated through DC public and DC public charter schools, I believe I have a unique perspective to offer the Public Charter School Board. Moreover, my experiences growing up in the city, living abroad, and working as an educator in the district have instilled 3 unique learnings. The first, authentic family engagement is the bedrock of a healthy and thriving school. The second, school innovation is critical to ensuring all learners have the skills and dispositions necessary to thrive in our rapidly changing educational and economic environment. And third, cultural, contextual, and socio-emotional awareness are critical components of learning. If confirmed, these learnings will center my work as a member of the DC Public Charter School Board. I am aware and appreciative of the importance of the DC Public Charter School Board and its work. The objective of the PCSB is to ensure every child attending public charter school within the district receives an exceptional education experience. The PCSB accomplishes this objective through its approval of new schools, providing oversight to schools while in operation, and the revocation of a school's charter if they fail to meet performance goals. If confirmed, one of the pieces of work I hope to contribute is the PCSB Annual School Performance Index Report Evaluation, ASPIRE, the ASPIRE framework. ASPIRE is an important tool to help improve the quality of education for all students. Not only does this framework help schools identify and address the needs of students, but it also provides an opportunity for schools to collaborate to solve difficult problems impacting their schools. Should my nomination be confirmed, I pledge to work with my fellow board members and staff to address the needs and interests of DC families, students, educators, and their communities. I thank you for the opportunity to testify today, and I would be happy to answer any questions that you all may have. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. So I have a few questions. I'm actually going to start with this of Ms. Crucy, since you're still sitting there. How often does the board meet? How much time does it take?
The board has regular public board meetings each month, and we have about quarterly professional development opportunities for the board. And we also have monthly meetings where we have open office hours with staff to ensure that we can ask good questions. Altogether, the time does vary. It is more significant for the chair than it is for the rest of the board. But it is a manageable amount of time that will vary because we encourage also board members to take the time to visit schools and become familiar with our sister agencies and other partners throughout the city.
Thank you. So that was a setup for Mr. Davis. Do you have the time to serve?
Yes, sir. I believe I have the time to serve.
Do you know of any possible conflicts of interest that you might have or that might arise?
There are no conflicts of interest that I'm aware of, and if there were, I would recuse myself if I had to make a decision where there was a conflict of interest.
And do you have any outstanding liability for taxes, fees, or other payments to the district or federal government?
Yes, we need to file our 2021 and 23 taxes. They'll be filed by August.
All right, so you're in the process of doing
Yes, sir.
that.
We're in the process of doing that right now.
This, I'm not sure has any bearing on your nomination, but you got a bachelor in psychology, history, and education?
Yes, sir.
It's a pairing that never has occurred to me. Why?
Well, Albright College has a very unique offering where you can match different programs. And so I fell in love with psychology. I loved history. And my mom was a teacher and I wanted to teach. And so what I realized in going through school was that to really be an effective teacher, you had to understand how the mind worked, how the brain works, social interactions. So it was a phenomenal pairing. And you have to understand communities. And so history gave me an approach to understanding communities from a historical standpoint, right? So it all worked together.
Okay, and you used that when you were principal at Brown?
Yes, sir. I use everything, including the kitchen sink, as a principal. It requires so many different skills and dispositions. You have to understand people. You have to want to understand a community. You have to decenter the school in a way so that parents are not always coming to the school. You have to be willing to go to parents and meet them where they are to truly understand their concerns. And that helped me tremendously as a teacher. It helped me tremendously as a principal.
So I'm not sure this has any bearing on the Public Charter School Board, but since the Committee of the Whole has oversight over education, why did you leave being principal at Brown? You were there, you were principal for
Little
3
over 4
years,
years.
4
Little
years?
over 4 years. Yes, sir. Burnout, right? Well, I was right at the precipice of burnout. I had started my career in 2005 at Clark Elementary, which was on Illinois Avenue, now E.L. Haynes. The school closed. It was during the time where schools were being consolidated. Was transferred to Rudolph, which closed 2 years later and became Washington Latin. Was then transferred to Webb, which then closed, became KIPP. We went down to Wheatley. And with every school choice, my choice was to work with students who were fathers away from opportunity. And when working with families who are in communities that are tremendously impoverished, it requires so much. And after, a little over 18 years, I was tired and my children were getting older and I wanted to spend a little more time with them. My 17-year-old will be graduating from Roosevelt next year. My 28-year-old graduated from Duke Ellington, and I wanted to spend more time with my children. So.
Putting aside the children, which I should not say or ask, is there something that could have been done that would have kept you longer as principal?
That's a really good question. I don't think so. I don't think so. I think family is important to me. And I have a brilliant wife and she needs my support as well. And I think it was a great time for me to give more time to my sons and my wife.
So I wasn't asking the question so much as to get into your personal reasons,
Yes, sir.
but I think that as a goal for our schools,
Yes, sir.
charter and public, DCPS, that we want longevity with our teachers as well as principals.
sir.
And so that's kind of what I'm exploring.
Yeah, I mean, education is difficult, right? It is grueling. It is nonstop. One of the things that I've always been excited about is innovation within the education sector, right? So if we could find innovative ways, like, so let me give you an example. In Atlanta, there's a school called Overtime Elite Academy. One of our principals of the year, Maisha Riddlespringer, is over academics there. And the idea is that you have quasi-professional young men who play basketball half the day and they're in school half the day. Right? That is such an innovative model because it is an apprenticeship without it being an apprenticeship, right? Right. It's career technical education, in my opinion, right? If we had a school like that would center even so, companies now like Apple, Microsoft, they are leaning towards getting students out of high school, training them, and then sending them to college to get the skills and other skills that they need in order to be effective in their role. If there were opportunities for principals to play with ideas, right? To come together and talk about, hey, what about this school that centers the business sector and looks at technology? What could we do? How could we bring these people on? How could we help students? Like an opportunity to really think outside the box would have been something that I think my wife would have allowed me to stay on a little bit longer. Well, it's not her decision, it's my decision too, but that's something that I think the family could have gotten behind, right? So I think more innovative opportunities to really bridge the gap between, student skills and dispositions and what the industry really needs from our students, if that makes sense.
It does, but does that also implicate what I would call more autonomy for principals?
Not
Allowing you as a principal to think more innovatively?
Sure. Sure. Yes, and maybe, because if there was an initiative, if there was a partnership between the business sector and the educational sector that focused on bridging that gap, then principals could cycle through some type of program that gave them that opportunity to think outside the box, right? And let's say they did it for a couple of years and they came back to their schools, they would bring these innovative ideas to their schools. So it's just, a way to get principals out to think differently, bring them back in, right? But you're giving principals an opportunity to think and partner with other industries that need, right, human capital, the best human capital. So it helps the principal get an idea of what shifts needs to happen. It provides opportunities for parents and students, and it brings extra energy into the entire ecosystem.
Did I see somewhere you were in the Patterson,
Mary Jane Patterson Fellow.
yeah,
Yes,
which I think has been discontinued, but did you find that very helpful?
found it extremely helpful. I don't think I could have experienced the success that I had it not been for the Mary Jane Patterson Fellowship. It's phenomenal professional development. It's a cohort model. And I'm still in contact with many of my colleagues to this
Because
day.
that speaks to some of what you just said, with
Yes.
getting principals, even though that's training to be a principal, but
Yes.
get principals in another space to think creatively and then go to a school.
Yes, absolutely.
When you mentioned what you didn't call it internship, but you referred to that, it made me think of Ellington. So you had a son who went to Ellington?
Yes, yes.
I mean, that's sort of the same model. It's not a technical program, but
Correct.
it's a half-day academics, half-day arts.
Well, it's a full day academics, full day arts, if you will. So my son Isaiah loved Duke Ellington. So he would go to school, and then after school, like they had performances, like they performed with Patti LaBelle, Earth, Wind and Fire. Like it was incredible. And the amount of time that he spent outside of school devoted to his craft, unbelievable. But programs like that invest students in their craft, and that is the piece I'm trying to get at. So, a school like Phelps that has so many CTE programs, how do we bring the industry, how do we bring the students closer to the industry? How do we give them opportunities that will invest them so that when they leave, they know exactly what they want to do? And when they graduate, they can walk into very high 5-figure jobs, or maybe even 6-figure jobs, right? Because they've already received the training that they need, and it benefits DC.
So is your son performing?
Well, currently he is performing. He is doing audio engineering. He's working on an album. He's working and he's being an artist, but he's doing very well.
If he's an artist, that means you're supporting him. You don't have to answer that. So let me ask you two questions that are a little bit more relevant to charter schools. So empty seats. There's a lot of concern that we have a lot of empty seats in the charter sector as well as in DCPS. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, based on, my understanding, the enrollment has been increasing within both the district and the public charter
That
schools.
may be correct. Yeah.
Yes, sir. So when you say seats, how do you mean?
Gosh, I don't have the figures in front of me, but we have, I think, all told 1,000. When I say empty seats, referring to what the capacity is of our schools, that we have more seats than there are actually students.
Based on my experiences within education, there was always a drive to increase enrollment. I can't speak specifically to what the numbers are because I haven't been there, so I apologize that I'm not able to look at figures and tell you. But based on my experiences, there was always a tension between school capacity and actual enrollment numbers, right? So at Brown, we could have as many as 600 students, but each year we grew enrollment. And part of that was, does your school leader have longevity? Does your teaching staff have longevity? And if you could maintain longevity with your leadership and with your teaching staff, your enrollment tended to grow. And so when I hear that question, it makes me think, well, we always had more space in the building, but we didn't necessarily have the enrollment where we wanted it to be. And it was a process of growing the enrollment to match the capacity. If that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another question, you kind of touched on this in your testimony, talked about the value of choice
Yes.
of schools, unlike when you were growing up. But there's a negative side to that, which is that a lot of kids spend a lot of time traveling to get to school. And it's really hard on them. But what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think first and foremost, the DC Ride, the Kids Ride Free program is something that I wish we had when I was growing up, because I had to bike everywhere where I went. But I do think that our Metro Rail system is a wonderful way to counteract some of the difficulty of traveling across the city. One of the things that I noticed that hurt attendance was weather, right? When it rained pretty hard, and you had to get a 4-year-old across town, for some parents, that's extremely difficult, especially if they don't have a car. Getting to the bus stop, waiting for the bus, if you have to transfer to a bus, if you have to transfer to the metro, that was particularly difficult. But I do think that our metro system is one way to help offset the difficulty of traveling across the city. The program, I believe the program is of benefit.
The program meaning the.
DC Kids Ride Free.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Give me just a second. Anything else you want to add?
I appreciate your time and, hearing me. Thank you
Ms.
so much.
Kersey, you're not up, but since I was asking these questions, do you want to add any thoughts?
I am proud and I could not be happier to have this hearing here today. So thank you for your office's support in moving forward Mr. Davis's nomination. To some of the questions raised, big cities across the country are really struggling with enrollment such that districts are having to face incredibly difficult decisions about that this city has faced in years past that we have been in the fortunate position to not be facing. That doesn't mean that we don't have headwinds before us as a district. We have had reports come out about birth rate decline that we'll see. We only have leading indicators of at this point. Our robust choice system gives us the ability to be agile and to think ahead about how to ensure that the programs we offer between traditional district and charter are responsive to both parent demand and, as Mr. Davis so eloquently described, the needs and opportunities between student capacity and workforce opportunities. I am optimistic that we have the leadership in the city and the governance capacity to think ahead so that we continue on a trajectory of enrollment stability and, if anything, growth, so we can attract more people to our city and not be in the same position that we see other cities in right now.
Thank you. All right, that's going to conclude this hearing. I gave you the last word, but it wasn't your hearing. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Davis, for your willingness to serve. As I said at the beginning, the record in this matter will close at 5 p.m. on July 1st. That's 2 weeks from now, and we're looking to move forward on July 9th. So I'm going to adjourn this roundtable. The time is 1 o'clock and this roundtable is adjourned.